Welcome to Excel Beyond Boundaries with Joelle Barbarulo, who is the founder of DivinityLifeCoach.com, a holistic nurse, trauma-informed coach, and spiritual midwife dedicated to helping individuals transform emotional pain into purpose, embodiment, and conscious living. So thank you so much, Joelle, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I wanted to dive right in and ask you, taking us back, where did you grow up and what were the defining chapters of your life that led you to where you are today? So, kind of a deep question.
So, I'm going to give you a really deep answer. I grew up in Troy, New York, upstate New York, and I lived there most of my life. I have three children. I went through a terrible divorce, a custody battle, and attempted suicide.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
13 years ago. And through all of my childhood trauma and through my adversities, I wound up having like a spiritual awakening and wound up moving to Florida and really went through a growth period and understood my trauma, worked through my trauma, and ultimately turned my career in nursing into more of a holistic type of coaching because I believe that the core of every disease and the core of every issue comes from emotional suppression or some form of trauma, whether it be childhood or something, a divorce or a struggle with addiction. Everyone has a story, and my story started with coming from an alcoholic home and just kind of had struggles throughout my journey.
Wow. No, it sounds like you've definitely overcome a lot. So, growing up, you grew up in an alcoholic home, and so that was
Yes.
the initial challenges that you faced. And
That
then,
and also I always felt unseen. I felt not really part of my family. I felt more of the black sheep type. But I realized later on in life that I was more of a chosen one to break out of the patterns, one to see through the illusion. And so I always felt a little bit different. Do you know what I mean? I felt a
oh,
little
completely.
different. So honestly, I truly believe if you're going to have a greater purpose in life, you have to walk through the fire. You have to go through the pain and the poison to become the medicine. And I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change anything. I may have said not said that years ago, but today the woman that I've grown into and the light that I share and the souls that I touch, I couldn't have done that without going through all of that first.
That's amazing. So, it really made you who you are today.
Yeah, and it's a it's it's a revolving and evolving journey. We're growing constantly. Even the struggle, the traumas, the struggles that you go through, you might have another one later in life. Whatever lesson we're here to learn, you're going to go through. Like karmic corrections, and you're going to go through lessons in relationships. I also coach people on relationships because we have such failed relationships right now. I mean, even younger people are not getting into relationships because they're not understanding the ability to be vulnerable because they have all this trauma or these attachment styles. So I really work with people understanding their trauma, their attachment styles, so they can understand that they take part in why their relationships are failing and
Oh,
really
yeah.
work on the inside and becoming the one before you're looking for the one. Then you're going to attract a different vibration, a different level. You're not going to keep recycling the trauma bonds and the toxic relationships.
That is amazing, and very needed today. I hear the dating world is a mess and has changed so much, and
Yeah,
I love
nobody's
how it comes down to,
dating, nobody's getting into relationships. Everything's so, people are so isolated from being vulnerable. And we're not meant to be alone, we're not, but we are meant to take responsibility for the parts of us that are attracting those stories into our life.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
That's amazing that so through your nursing practice and the experiences that you encountered, you saw you saw the benefits of change from the inside out, holistic change, how everything
Yeah.
influences everything. And so you started adding in those components and helping people with their transformation.
Absolutely, because and I'm really good at it because, and I'm saying that humbly, but I'm good at it because I didn't learn it from a book. I learned it through experience. I learned it by walking through that fire, and I can really empathize with where you're at because I've been there. I understand the fear of being vulnerable. I understand at the end of the day, if we're not truly who we are, we just keep attracting different situations in our life, not just in relationships, in our businesses, in our daily lives, will attract the vibration where we're at. So if we're not truly being authentic to who we truly are, then we're going to keep attracting those same types of situations.
Interesting. Would you say that this is my personal belief, and I cannot wait to hear what you think, but from what I've learned, I feel like everyone is created for their own path, and that when you really learn to dig deep and listen to your heart, that it guides you along your path,
Yes.
and things feel in alignment and things flow. But if you try to live a different life that's not in alignment, you meet a lot of resistance, it doesn't feel right. Would you say you agree with that, or is that pretty accurate of how everything
Yeah.
works?
I actually teach people their soul blueprint. And I
Whoa.
only teach people that who are spiritually awakened, because we do have a soul blueprint. As much as we have fingerprints, we have a path of the way we are supposed to go and the lessons we're supposed to learn. And to get to that, obviously, you have one path and you hit that rubber wall, or, it directs you somewhere else. When you start to become more self aware and do the inner work, I do believe your intuition, your soul takes over and starts to lead you in the better direction. But before that, when we're not awake or we're not self aware, we go by ego, right? So
Yes.
everything in our ego is opposite of really the way you're supposed to go. So when you have that ego death and you can get a little bit deeper, and it takes many ego deaths to actually align with your soul path, right? Your true self. You start to accept the parts of you that the ego tries to hide. And our ego
Interesting.
it's there to protect us, right? Our ego is there to protect us, but our ego also hides us from our true authentic self. So, yeah, it's interesting that you are absolutely right. You'll start to see the synchronicities. You'll start to trust your own intuition more. And the right people, I do believe, at every level comes in. And then people will fall away. And, I've had friendships fall away, good friendships, but we just don't align anymore. You know what I mean? I may have stopped drinking because that doesn't vibe with my healthy lifestyle. I eat healthy, I work out, I do mind, body, soul. So, not that I'm a different person, we just don't align. So, things throughout your life will start to fall away as you start to elevate, and new people come in. So it's a journey. It's the journey of life, right? And it's till the day we go home.
That is amazing. I'm
Yeah.
curious to ask, with the Soul Blueprint, is that influenced or based on like numerology, astrology?
Yeah.
Because I like there's this app called Teledipity, and it uses astrology, numerology, and I've never seen a more accurate app. It gave me like a forecast, like a soul,
Everything.
mission. Yeah, and it was like it was so accurate that it was scary. And even the forecast, it says like forecast for week 2, week 3, even the forecasts were accurate. And so it's
Yes,
crazy to think how
it's
much is in the
very
stars.
accurate. It's very accurate. When I do people's soul blueprint and they're ready to hear that, it actually shows what your shadow side is, which is those things we're working through, and then our real soul blueprint. In my life where I'm at right now, even where I'm at in my business and career, I was always meant to be like a coach. I was always meant to be leading people back to their inner healer. And I didn't realize that. And when I became a nurse, that was the ego side of it, right? Becoming a regular nurse, which was very amazing career,
Oh
but
yeah.
it led me to a different direction. Even where I've been in my relationships, early on in my relationships, I was meant to have karmic relationships, but I'm like a soul deep person. So I'm meant to have a soul love, but I couldn't have that until I burn that karma or
I
burned
see.
off those karmic relationships to understand my self-worth, my self-love. Then you're not going to attract the same types of things. So yeah, when I do people's soul blueprint, I use their birth chart, all the houses in your birth chart, numerology, your life path, because we have a life path. And your life path's very important of the direction where you're going. So I kind of put all those things together, and I very much am like believe in Jesus, and I'm very spiritual. And I know a lot of religious people think that's woo woo, this numerology, but what they don't realize is the moon moves the ocean. I mean, there's a lot.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? There's astrology is very true to who you are, especially when you take Vedic astrology and Western and put it together. It throws different things in. It gives you a really great picture.
Wow.
And yeah, it's mind blowing for people because they're like, wow, that's really me. Well, I'm not telling you it's you, it's your soul blueprint. I'm just doing it for you. And, that's just one of the services, like a side service I offer. And it's usually about 60 pages. It's pretty in depth.
Wow. 60
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah, it's pretty in depth.
That is, I am curious. We'll definitely have to talk about that
Yeah.
after because all I know is that my sun sign is Cancer, but on the Cancer Gemini cusp, June 23rd,
Mm-hmm.
my rising is Scorpio and my moon is Libra, and I know each one has its own, interplay. And
Yeah,
so,
and then if you bring in Vedic, you'll bring a little bit more because even like I'm a sun sign of a Libra. I'm a rising of a Cancer and I'm a moon of a Leo, but I'm
wow,
right on the cusp of Libra and Scorpio. Like, so that brings things into me too. And it's so the makeup of who I am. Like,
that's
with
amazing.
every bit of it is exactly like who I am, what I'm doing, where I'm supposed to be, when in life you're supposed to have success, when love's supposed to come in, like all these different things. And if you're following your intuition and your soul, then those things will align. But they're not going to align if you're still like living over, there's people that are just in a coma. They're not awake, they're not aware. They're going through life literally like you're just blind to
Yeah,
what's in front of you. And um it's like a double-edged sword, to be honest, because when you're not awake or you're not spiritually aware, or let's just even say self-aware, you don't even have to say spiritual. I do find though that people who are aware have some form of faith with it. I do
oh
think
yeah,
that you
absolutely.
have to have faith to become self-aware because it's a deeper part. But you go around so oblivious with that hole in your soul. Like you could be very successful in your career and make all the money in the world and say you made I had a client that had a real estate deal and made boatloads of money. And he was really happy about it for like 48 hours. And
Something's
then
missing though.
this that's missing, that piece, that of knowing who your true authentic self is. And then you have the spiritual side of it and the self aware and the growth that does come with periods of isolation. You know what I mean? It does. Because I think any part of growth, you have to sit with you. You have to sit with your shit. You know what I mean? If you
Yes,
don't,
introspection.
you have to. And most people, not most, I shouldn't say most, because I feel more people are wanting to do more of the inner work. So everybody's so into biohacking and working out and eating healthy and doing all those amazing things. But what are you doing about your emotional health? Because
Yes,
you can't bypass that. And no matter what you do for outside validation, it's never going to fulfill your soul. And I know it works. I know how I coach my clients work because I'm bringing you to your own conclusion. Instead of me saying, I'm telling you this, I'm intuitively kind of in your energetic field, spiritually reading you to ask you questions so that it triggers a response in you to make you think about it because we are our own inner healer.
I like
Some
that.
some people are like, "Well, how are you going to heal me?" I'm not. You are.
You guide them
You're
through the
going to.
process.
I'm going to take you through the process that works.
That's powerful.
And you're going to heal yourself. And then you're going to have the tools. You're going to have those tools.
Oh yeah, that's so important too. And everything you said, I've seen play out, with different relationships, with friends or, the past with like a former girlfriend or I've seen it how majority of people try to put a band-aid on it and just live
Yeah.
life, but you can't run away from the internal stuff. And those willing to just face it and dig deep end up being the ones that transform and have a new outlook, new perspective, more love, more guidance, everything you said. It's such a beautiful
And you
journey.
know that radiates from the inside, you know, it really radiates from the inside out because so many people are like afraid to be alone. So what happens is if you're in a relationship and then you break up, some other people will just jump to the next one. How do
Yes,
you even know who you have
yes.
feelings for? Like you just were with some. I've never been that type. I've always had isolation in between, like for long periods of time. You nothing is going to fulfill you, even when you become self-aware and you are your own happiness. Somebody else can add to it, and this is a really important piece I try to teach people around relationships. You have to The biggest lesson is to learn detachment. When you can love somebody, and this was one of my karmic lessons, I had to learn detachment. It was like one of my major in my birth chart lessons was detachment. When you can learn to have something, love someone, own something from detachment, there's a freedom with that. If you are
Interesting.
attached to something, you're always afraid to lose it. And what it actually does is repel it away. You know what I mean? Because you're putting so much pressure on it that it's repelling it
That
instead
makes
of
sense.
sitting in it. And then it's a comfortable place to be. It's easier said than done because, you know, a lot of us carry abandonment wounds from childhood or rejection wounds, or some of us are avoided because we want intimacy, but we're afraid that they're going to leave. So it's like running a circle, right?
That
Usually
makes
the anxious
sense.
person attracts the avoidant, and then
Yes.
it's like a Tom and Jerry thing over and over again,
Wow, the relationship
right?
dynamic.
Yeah,
Definitely,
until you
100%.
finally understand yourself, and then everything in your life opens up, not just relationships, but if you have low self worth and you're waiting for your business to be successful, well, you're not going to receive because you don't feel worthy of that. So you're blocking your business. You're
Wow.
blocking your wealth. You're blocking your abundance.
This goes way beyond just relationship
Oh, it's,
dynamics.
and it's all the way you do it. You know, when people come to me, it all goes down to the same thing. They might come with an issue. Somebody's coming with a relationship issue. Maybe somebody's coming with just got out of a narcissistic relationship or going through a divorce, or they're having issues with their business. Whatever it is, it always goes to the root. And that's what my business is truly about. It's like healing the root so the tree is stable. We are the tree, but our root is the root cause of why we carried these things in our life. And very much of it's subconscious. So
Wow.
we have to bring the subconscious to conscious,
I love
right?
that. No,
And then once we
definitely.
do that, then we know what's in front of us. Then we know what's in front of us. Like, wow, that really makes sense. So then you see where then after, when somebody's working with me for a while, you can bring in the astrology piece to it if they're open to it. I don't bring that to everybody. You got to kind of weigh out where they are. But to be honest with you, most people who wind up coming to me have a spiritual or some faith because that's who I'm aligned with.
That makes sense. And it's such a
Yeah.
huge part of it too.
Yes. Someone who's totally like oblivious or in a coma, we won't even vibrationally
Oh
cross
yeah.
paths.
Typically that's the type of person, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the type of person that's more just in the worlds, just not surface level, hasn't tapped into that yet, in
Right.
a
They're
sense.
still
Yeah.
doing the outward validation, the materialistic things, you know, all the outward things to make themselves feel good. The
Yes.
drinking, the drugs, the sex, the shopping, the escapism,
The
whatever
distractions.
whatever the escapism is. And even like being healthy, working out, you could have body shame issues underneath that where that's why you're always at the gym. Even though it's healthy, it's still a form of escapism.
That's true. Oh
Everything
yeah.
we do, as long as we're doing it from a healthy perspective and coming from a conscious place, everything can be good in moderation. It's why are we doing this? How is
Why?
this affecting us? Right? Right.
That
Yeah.
is really powerful. Sorry, I just
That's right. I'm taking a sip of my water.
okay. We have a little ankle or like foot baby monitor, and it if it disconnects it goes off. It's supposed to like monitor heart rate and everything, and I bumped it, so the alarm was about to go off since it was
Do you have a new
disconnected.
baby?
Yes, he is 4 months old.
His grandson, he's 4 months.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, yes, I miss him so much. He's in New York. He's the cutest baby ever.
That's a fun
Yeah,
age, 4 months.
yeah, he's really cute. Yeah, so
What is his name?
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
What is his name?
Levi.
Oh, wow. My son's name is Leo.
Oh my God, she was gonna name him Leo. It was Levi or Leo. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
really
funny.
cute. Yeah,
Full name is Leonidas, and then we just, for short, Leo. But
nice.
very similar names though. Um, what were you gonna say?
So what? So when you're in your business, you're doing wellness and everything, also, right?
Yes. So I agree with everything you said, and so I was in the fitness industry for a while, and prior to that, with my own fitness journey, I saw how symbolic it was and how it changed me on a much deeper level. It wasn't just physical. And so then in the fitness industry, I saw it, from the other side, where I saw people get active and then eventually their relationships would get better. They'd get more into self-development, piece by piece, they'd add like another layer. And
Yeah,
5 years later, they were a completely different person. But some people only took it so far. Some people stopped at like the second layer or the third. So
yeah,
with my wellness brand that I'm putting together and actually just starting to launch, I want to help people with transformation as well. But it's not quite as deep as what you do, and that's why I'm fascinated by this, and I'd love to talk to you afterwards because
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, well, like we said before, there's definitely ways to collaborate and help more people.
Everybody
But
needs this. You know what I mean? It's like
yes,
everybody needs this. And I think some people are just so afraid to tap into it. But everybody needs that.
oh yes,
I'm trying to reach into, like I was talking to you before we did the podcast about wellness studios and yoga studios and, all the med spas that they're doing all the great biohacking. And that's amazing. You're bringing medicine to, a healthier thing using vibration and frequency and all the things that you can heal your body with and getting away from Western medicine. Well, we also need to understand that the Botox isn't going to fulfill everything, and the BBLs and all those things. You want to enhance your outside, that's great, but
oh
do it for
yes,
the right reason. But I can tell you, as you continue to do the inner work, that stuff doesn't mean as much to you anymore, because not that it's not great, but you know why? You start to become like, hey, this is me. This is who I
yes,
am. I'm still going to go work out, eat healthy, do my little bit of maintenance, but I'm not seeing myself through that.
I
I
love that.
accept myself and I don't care who else don't. You know what I mean?
Oh
It's
yes,
such a freedom to not care. You're caring about others' things. You're not caring about outward validation anymore.
it's not so image focused, more internally
No.
focused. What
Yeah,
matters?
let's fix the identity, not the image. Like let's fix the identity of who we are on the inside.
I love that.
So it's coming to pass, but it's still, you'll still find people doing the shortcuts before coming in and say, you're going to work with me for 3 to 6 months. Anybody will spend 5 grand on going to get, injections, but you want to spend 5 grand to do the real work, because this
Oh
is the
yeah.
true transformation. You know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean?
I
Yeah.
completely agree, and it's so refreshing to come across you and hear that you're doing this because I saw this, before the industry started going in this direction. I saw the need for this, but of course I didn't know how to help them. So it's so refreshing to come across someone that has been doing this, and you're really leading the forefront with that gap. There's such a disconnect between fitness, wellness. Wellness 10 years ago was not really wellness. It was more like superficial, right?
Right.
And so now I love that it's really becoming more and more deep, what it should be.
It's still breaking into it, though. It's still breaking into it, because the thing is you'll still have those surface level tapping spirituality. Like, oh, I'm going to go do a yoga class. And that's great, because that's your foothold in. But it goes way deeper than that. It's like doing the yoga class is one thing, but then you got to get into doing the inner work, because
Yes.
that's when the energy is going to start moving out. I mean, and when people start to become really familiar with this and start to understand their patterns, I mean, I would leave a yoga class and want to cry, because now that stagnant energy in my body is moving out. And that's the other piece I try to teach people from bringing in my nursing part, is that you don't really have anxiety, you have fear. You don't really necessarily have GI issues, you're suppressing your emotions. A lot of people wind up with all these issues with their liver, but you're storing anger and resentment in that organ.
That's true. It stores in your tissue, in your
Yeah,
organs,
so
right?
in your
Like your whole
fascia
body.
and your organs.
That's
Yeah, and it's proven. I mean, that's like neurologically and scientifically proven that emotions store, that's why other modalities like somatic release and Reiki, all that stuff works together with doing the shadow work and it's not just inner child, it's any trauma work. And it all kind of comes together.
so fascinating how all of that literally comes together physically and like spiritually and mentally and
Right. That's
all
why
of
it's
it. Like,
like mind, body, soul. Then when people understand it's the trifecta, it's mind, body, soul. And when you can get all those aligned, your soul takes over. My soul took over and started telling me literally what I'm gonna like changing my diet from what I eat to what I put in my body because my body's a temple,
yes,
what I consume, how I fast. I stopped drinking alcohol. My body now just doesn't absorb it. It rejects it. And when I go to Europe every once in a while, I love to have a glass of Italian wine. But for me to make that part of my life like it was, there's no room for it anymore. I have no judgment on what anyone else does, but it just doesn't do anything for me anymore but bring my vibration down.
makes sense.
Before it might have suppressed my emotions, and then so I don't need to suppress them anymore. So why do I need to use it? It's just really toxic and poisonous to my body anyway.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And you feel the difference, I'm sure, of course, physically
Right.
and mentally.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that.
so I mean, I'm glad that more and more people are starting to become more self-aware and wakening up to because there's so many people just hurting. So many
Oh
people are
yes.
hurting, and I'd love to see relationships, even for me, like have a relationship with another conscious human,
Oh
like that
yes.
you can meet on I can't even have surface level conversations anymore.
I
I can't
agree.
even do it.
I hate small talk.
There's just so much more depth to humans, to who we are, um, that I can't even have like surface level conversations. It would drain me. I would have to go home and like take a salt bath. Just it would drain me.
I completely agree. I remember
Yeah,
when I was single, I enjoyed having deep conversations, if I met like a woman and just I enjoyed the conversation because
yeah.
I feel like with my guy friends, we typically wouldn't have deep conversations. A couple of my good friends like deep conversations and discussing things, but I don't know why, and maybe but with women it was easier to have a deep conversation. With guys, it was typically more, just working out, just doing things, and so I really
Well,
enjoyed
why
those
do you
deep
think that
conversations with
is?
women.
Why do you think that is?
Is it the ego?
Well, it's not, it's somewhat of the ego, but it's the ego protecting you. And this is what I deal with my male clients. And I love working with male clients because you're taught from a little boy, right? To not cry, to not show emotions. And it's so wrong of us to do that because when a man truly goes through his awakening or his journey and he starts to have shadow, like ego deaths, are called like dark nights of the soul, right? Where you're just going through that ego death. A real true man, a real true masculine is going to be aware of his emotions. A real true man is going to be vulnerable. That is the real masculinity. That's the real male that you want to be with. So many men are great at their careers and they're great at providing, but then the relationship piece is missing. Not just for men, for women too, because women go around in their masculine, and I had to learn this. This was very hard for me to learn to soften into my feminine. There's a place for running your masculine energy and a place for your feminine. But when we both can learn to be in our right energy at the right time, that's what God created to be one, is us masculine and feminine.
The yin and the yang, in a
The yin and
sense.
the yang. I
I
mean,
see.
it is, and it's that's what's really truly missing in relationships,
That makes
because
sense.
women are running their men and men are like letting them. And
Yes.
so it's trying to keep the peace. That's not keeping the peace. A woman wants to feel safe. I know for me, when God blesses me with that masculine, divine masculine man, I want someone that I can be in my feminine. I raised 3 kids on my own. I run a business. I don't want to be in my masculine when I'm with someone. I want to be able to be
Yeah.
that in my feminine,
To relax.
feeling safe, knowing that it's being handled. And just like a man, they want to be able to come home and be in their vulnerability where peace is, right?
Definitely. No, it makes sense.
But that's what happens. That's why so many relationships are failing. Honestly, because we're not being honest with each other about what we are, who we are, what we want, and our vulnerabilities. And then we're wearing masks. And actually, that's the book I just published. It's the journey back to your authentic soul. It's like unveiling your mask. And it talks about why we start wearing these masks through being when we're a child and you're say a young boy and you can't feel, now you're wearing that mask, or a people pleaser, or any of those things.
Interesting. Would you, to sort of sum that up, would you say that, just or more recap in a sense, would you say the guys aren't stepping into their masculine, the women aren't able to fully step into their feminine, and then both sides are afraid of being vulnerable and often don't truly know themselves on that fundamental level?
Yeah,
Is that
but
pretty much the whole?
yeah, absolutely. And but I wouldn't even put it like that way, because if we say that if men are not stepping into their masculine, we're not stepping into our feminine, once again, we're not taking responsibility, or we're putting it on somebody else. I think the better way of saying it is, if we are both in our own lane and learn what that is, take responsibility no matter what your partner's doing. You do your inner work, you understand who you are, what your role is. Then if you're aligned with that person, then, and if they're doing their work, then it would come together. Because if we still say that, well, you're not in your masculine, so I can't be in my feminine, which very might be, could be very much true. Like a woman can't, because maybe the husband's not, or the boyfriend, and they have to do.
Oh
And the
yeah,
same with a masculine coming home and can't feel vulnerable, because you're coming home and you're getting nagged at, and so it really comes still down to the whole journey is a solo journey, and it is being responsible for who you are on the inside. And really, that's all you can do, because think how hard it is to change yourself. You're not changing anyone else. You're
I love
not.
that. That
You're
is so
not.
true. That is so
If you
true.
think about how hard it is for people to come and do their own work, you think you're changing somebody else? No, you're not.
You're right.
You're
And
not.
that simplifies it too, because people just need to focus on themselves and
Stay in
dealing
your
with
own lane.
their internal, yeah. And then as a result, they find the partner they want and they have that parallel path and they complement each other instead of trying to run away and jump from relationship to relationship. So everything you said, it really can be simplified. Like it's really simple. It's
I
just,
found too, I know that I found this for me. And I see a lot of people do this. They stay so busy. I love being alone now. I love just sitting doing nothing. Like go to the beach last night and just was reading my 369, my journaling that I do, because I work on myself all the time. I have a coach. I'm a coach. You know what I mean? We all have to take accountability. But people stay so busy in everything in order to not face who they are. Some people truly
I've
cannot
seen that.
sit with
I've seen that.
themselves, like
They avoid it.
just sit.
Drives them crazy to just have alone time.
Yeah, and in the stillness is where the answers are. It's in that stillness and in that quiet. It's truly where you start to get like aha moments of
Yes,
things. You know,
100%.
people are in a
Yeah.
rush to go, go, go. It's like, where are you going? Where are you going? You're going to the same scenario. It's like different level, different devil, different, it's
Oh
slow
yeah.
down, be
I
present. That's my biggest thing I had to learn, is to try to learn to be present. Because guess what? Your past is over. Hopefully you learned from it. Your future's not here yet. You can direct it, but you have to be present first.
That makes sense because I mean, living
Yeah,
in the past would be depression, and then living in the future would be anxiety, right?
correct.
And then present's the only what you can control.
And if you think about this, I'm reading this really great book. It's called Magdalene. It's about Mary Magdalene, but it's a channeled message from Mary Magdalene. And it's 365 days. It's a lesson every day. And it's really talking about how our brains are programmed. Because if you really do think about it, and it makes so much sense, everything that you're sitting overthinking in your head is from stuff that you've previously experienced. It's not even real. It's like stuff that might have happened before to you. So you're still carrying that blueprint and that imprint in you. You know, it's like, think about the way I guess I can say is if you got stung by a bee and had a reaction. You
I
may
see.
not even be allergic to the bee, but for the rest of your life, you now have a fear of bees.
I see.
It's kind of the same type of thing. It's these things happened, and that's the only reason why we're resonating them in our head because they already happened, but they're not happening now. So it's really trying to get control over your mind. And I truly believe the biggest and hardest journey that I went through, and I believe probably could say that it's probably the hardest journey for anyone, is to go from your head to your heart. Like it's literally from your ego to your soul. It's a really hard journey, but when you get there, it changes your perspective
Oh yeah, no, that
on
completely makes
everything.
sense. Um, I remember when I was younger, was always really deep and always really introspective, and I looked for purpose everywhere. I tried every job. I've had over 40 jobs. I've tried everything looking for purpose, looking for all of that. And then eventually I realized I had to look within. So, I spent a lot of time on myself. And anytime I needed guidance, I would just look within and I would
Yeah.
get answers. And then I learned to
Yes.
follow my heart. And then it was amazing how, like, learning to follow my heart, how things would unfold and all that. But there's a book that reminds me. Have you heard of Into the Magic Shop it's a neurosurgeon's account of how he discovered the heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain does to the heart. And that
I
book,
have not read it, but I will. I love new books.
it's good. It changed my whole perspective on everything because it reinforced that I just had to follow, that I wasn't crazy and I had to follow my heart. And of course, hearing you talk about all this, you're bringing all the pieces together. So this is
Yeah, because I was
fascinating.
stuck in my head in overthinking for so many years. I'm like, I don't even want to go back there. I spent too much time there. And sometimes I'll still catch myself recycling it. You know what I mean? And I'll be like, okay, I'm not going there. And I really have learned this, that you can't miss what's for you. You can't. If you're truly, because I was the same way, I always felt like I had a purpose in life. And so after I was done raising my children, and I moved to Florida by myself, all by myself. It's like my soul led me to the beach by myself. And my children are all adults. So, they were like, they love that I live here because it's beautiful here. But I spent so much time with myself, and it was God's design for it to be that way because I got to know that my purpose, I thought maybe now after staying single for so long, I'm going to find my soulmate, but I found my soul. I found my soul path. I found my passions and my purpose. And so now in life, I feel whole. I don't feel that emptiness. That I believe the only thing that will fulfill it is getting to know who you are. Knowing who you are is the only thing, the only relationship that's truly ever going to fulfill this is the one that you have with you and your higher power.
That is amazing. Everyone needs to hear
Honestly,
that. I
that's
love
truly
that.
it. So there's other things in my life that went, away, but they weren't anything that gave me that peace. And it's like I said, the road's not an easy road. And when people come to me, I'm going to tell them straight up, this is not a quick fix. This is transformation. This isn't you being in therapy for 20 years. This is transformation. And the transformation happens from a partnership. So what you're going to get out of it is the work you're going to put into it. How deep do you want to know who you are, why you do the things you are? And then at that point, guess what's going to happen? Your right job's going to align. The right people in your life are going to align. The right partnership. Not that anything will ever be perfect, because guess what? We're individuals and we all have our karmic corrections to learn. But you're going to not love from that fear or attachment. You're going to be more aligned, knowing that whether it works out or it don't, you're going to be okay.
I see. It
Because
takes the weight off
heartbreak
your
is
shoulders.
horrible. You know what I mean? Heartbreak, when I went through heartbreak, I would have rather had a semi-met truck run over me, because the pain of heartbreak is
Yes.
devastating. It's like something's being pulled from you. But you know what I realized? It's because I loved from attachment. That's where the pain came, because it was an attachment. And one thing I know to be true, anything that we attach to for sure will be taken from us, because we're supposed to be sovereign, like, and understand that we are whole on our own.
Wow.
You put
Anything,
too
I didn't mean
much.
to interrupt.
No,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
I'm just saying. I mean, those were like channeled messages when I was meditating and stuff, and it's like literally and just going through my growth. But anything that we put too much attachment into, like, I love my children and I love my grandson and I love them with freedom. We
Love
can't
that.
hold on to anything too tight.
Anything that we attach to that we lose. And you're right, because ultimately, I mean,
We lose
life is
it.
short. You're right. Wow. And actually, that reminds me, I even read the science behind that. I remember reading that it was like a CIA document, how they acknowledged that the energy of basically if you're always chasing, you never get it.
Right.
Like it
You're
like
not, because
pushes
it's
things
energy,
energetic.
right? You're chasing it, it's going to run. I always think of butterflies. If you chase a butterfly, it runs. If you sit still, a butterfly will come close to you. Anything we chase runs. Even in relationships, same thing. That's where always have the runner and the chaser, the runner and the chaser. It's
That's
like a game.
true.
It's like a game until until someone's both just happy with who they are. And then people can align and know that having a relationship's great, but you're okay if not.
That should be the goal of everyone in
It
their
took me
relationships
years to get
and
to
with
that point. It took me years. And I didn't have a problem being alone. Like, I never jumped from relationship to relationship, but I yearned for it. I yearned for that. But now I'm open to what is meant to co-create with me.
I
And
see.
if it's meant to, and I know the way my path was going, that God was not going to let someone come in and distract my path, because I have a mission, I have a purpose of what I'm doing. So now that I'm built this business and it's going, now is a good time. It's open, where if someone comes in, I have a foundation that's going to be, this is my path. Somebody would have to come in that's like, co-creating with me or understands your path.
Yes.
I'm not,
No,
I
that
would never be able to date somebody or get into a relationship with someone who's like totally in a coma. They would have no clue what you're doing.
oh yeah. They have to relate, they have to
They
understand, they have
have
to
to
be on the same
relate.
page for sure.
You have to have faith. You have to be on your own journey of your own self-discovery.
Makes sense. No, that makes sense. What would you say if you were going to tell someone like maybe a few things that would help them to reach that fundamental level or at least start their journey and get off that surface level mindset? Like, what can they do?
The first thing I would say to people is this, because it's the fear of, people get very comfortable in the familiar, and their familiar is dysfunction, right? Most of the time it's trauma bonding. Your nervous system is so used to chaos that's familiar to you on a subconscious level. So you meet somebody who you have chemistry. That's your dysfunction. That's like run, because that's what you're used to. What I would tell people is that it's harder. People think it's harder to hold on to all of that than it actually is to do the work. Because when you do the work and you start to uncover these little beliefs about yourself, these subconscious beliefs that you have, this identity that's not even true to who you are, there's such a freedom in that. There's just such a freedom, instead of being someone or acting some way to please someone else. When you start to do the work on yourself, the pieces come together and you heal. And once you do that healing, it's not that these things haven't happened to you. You don't identify with them anymore. Your trauma isn't your identity anymore. It becomes a stepping stone to truly become who you're meant to be.
I
Unfortunately, people don't come to this type of transformation without pain. You don't.
a turning
No
point.
one's doing great and then all of a sudden say, oh, I think I'm gonna do some work on myself. No,
Yes, they need that
that's
pain
not how it
point.
is. You're going through a breakup and you finally are tired of the same trauma bonds or same relationships, or you go through a financial loss. That's a big thing for people because they find so much worth in their right their
Oh
finance with
yes.
they materialism,
Oh
or
yes.
you have a loss of someone or a parent or grief. Those things are the things that bring you to your knees.
That's so true.
Sometimes it takes many of those things to really bring somebody down. um it could be anything, it could be a DWI or whatever it is. Unfortunately, it takes pain. But under our pain and under our trauma, what I would tell people is that is where your greatest gifts are, is under that. Under our shadows, when we start to understand those are not bad pieces of us, embody that. We are polarity of light and dark.
I love that. In your trauma, could you say that phrase again? The so
In our
powerful.
trauma is where you find your greatest gifts.
I love that. People need
It's
to hear that.
true.
People
It's
need to
really
hear that.
true. Under
So
your
true.
trauma is where you find your gifts, because the biggest karmic lesson that you're going to learn is what your gift is. That's why it's so hard to learn.
Wow.
It's so hard to but that's where your growth is too.
Definitely.
And it's, I see younger people starting to come to the conclusion. More younger people are waking up and becoming self-aware, which I think that's amazing. I'm going to be speaking at an entrepreneurial school in Estero. The guy asked me to speak, and it's for young girls to want to be
Nice.
entrepreneurs. But I think that, and he's like, well, what would you want to speak about? And I would have to say, if you want me to talk to these young women, I would talk to them about self-worth and
Oh, that's
understanding,
perfect.
for young women,
Yes.
understanding that and understand that sovereignty and understanding who you are at your core. And that is going to enhance your life, whether you become an entrepreneur, because then you're going to believe in yourself. You're
Yes.
going to know that you can do it. And, and even in relationships, save yourself to divorces.
Wow. I could see how that would influence the trajectory of their entire life. Just learning their self-worth isn't tied to anything, how they look,
Yeah.
monetary gain, like it's just inherent because social media affects that at such a young age. And so,
Yeah.
and
You know,
yeah, so powerful.
men and women find a lot of times we are two 5-year-olds in adult bodies, and you're still chasing your father's love as a woman, and you're seeking that which you didn't get. And a lot of men are seeking that. And this doesn't mean we have bad parents. Our parents did what they could. I left childhood wounds with my children, from what I knew then. And now I'm like, this is one of my biggest passions too, is because I had childhood trauma. I created childhood trauma. And my kids, they see they're very aware now, and they do work and spiritual and, but they have their pains. So we attract we usually wind up chasing the unhealed little girl or the unhealed little boy that we're seeking in that from our parent, right? Until we learn that. And it's subconscious. This is
Interesting.
subconscious stuff that is running our life. And it's only when you become conscious of it by someone maybe pointing these things out, working like that's what I try to work with my clients, is things that they might just asking them questions, and then they come to the realization on their own, and then you can give them the tools. But I would tell people, anyone who's looking to really find themselves, you can't escape it. So it's like this: feel the pain now or feel the pain later, but you're going to feel the pain.
So symbolic. Either easy road now, harder or
or
later,
later.
or
It's like
just
anything.
like
You can
life.
drag out a relationship for 10 more years and then you can be that much older, or you can be present with what is going on in your life and decide that I'm going to become self-aware and I'm going to bring this problem to the light.
Yes,
You're not escaping it. We're not this is the school of life. Earth school's rough.
that's
It's
cool.
rough.
No, that's
We
true. I
are
mean,
in Earth School.
we are
And
here for a
we all
reason.
have a soul purpose, though. That is for sure. We all have a reason why we're here. Some of us will learn in this lifetime. Maybe you won't learn in this lifetime. You'll learn in another lifetime. But there's lessons that you're here to learn. And it's very
Yeah.
easy to know what they are. When you keep repeating the same thing and it keeps coming back, it means you didn't pass that lesson yet. It's like when I was taking my boards for my registered nurse license and you're taking your NCLEX. If I don't answer enough questions right in neurology, guess what I keep getting? Questions in neurology.
Symbolic.
Once I answer enough percentage of those, then I might start getting maternity questions.
So the algorithm would recognize that you were getting those wrong and kind of hone in on
And
that.
just look at your life as an algorithm. You
Wow.
keep seriously repeating the same things. And most times people are doing it in relationships.
Huh. That is interesting. I'm thinking about all the patterns and I recognize it all.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And going back to what you said, I remember there's a quote. I can't remember who says it, but it was until you make the unconscious conscious, it was something about how like men will call it fate,
Hmm.
but not knowing any better because that governing how much the unconscious governs us. So
It
true.
does.
Wow. So true.
It's like, you have to learn to reprogram your subconscious. You have to learn to regulate your nervous system. And you can do, and these things all can be done through simple modalities. Just even, I know half of my life I went through not breathing. I don't think I was breathing. Just
Yes.
shallow every
Chest
day,
breathing.
like this, anxiety. And now it's like, wow, I really do practice breath work. And it's in a 2, 3 breaths. You're like, you can really regulate and bring yourself to a chill place by a couple deep breaths.
The
But we go
diaphragmatic
around
breathing.
in such fight or flight that, and this stuff, it's wasted to learn this many years later. If younger people can learn this, God, they'd have such a amazing life because they'd be so ahead of it.
Oh yeah, I'm glad all this is slowly becoming more mainstream.
Yeah.
I remember in the fitness industry, when they first started saying how nasal breathing had all these benefits, and
Prana, yeah.
oh, it's called prana?
Prana.
Prana.
If you're doing one or the other, it's called prana. There's
Oh,
box
interesting.
breathing. There's all different types. Yeah.
Definitely. I remember people thought it was nonsense, and even the chest breathing versus diaphragmatic, breathing, and then it started becoming the science was shown behind it, and people started recognizing it. So it's so cool to see the fitness industry and wellness and medical industry all sort of start to meet. They're getting closer. They're not
Yeah.
quite meeting in the middle, but they're like almost touching now.
And
It's cool.
yeah, it is. And it is. So many people are becoming more aware, and I'm really glad. I'm part of a business network that they're just starting down here in Naples, and it's called Thrive. And it's great because it's all just for wellness. And everybody's talking about the biohacking and everybody's talking about the yoga and everybody's talking about, all the, injectables. And I got a chance to speak and I'm like, okay, and this is all great and it's amazing, but let's not forget we have to do our emotional health.
I
They
love
might
that.
kick me out and not invite me next time, but I don't care. The key to the true wellness is your emotional stability.
Otherwise, they're just chasing their
And the
tail.
rest of it all works great together. But if you're going to go sit and I go to a red light sauna therapy and I do the cold plunge, but if I'm going to go home and then be a frantic lunatic, I just wait. Why did I do it?
Yes, it should start from within.
It's gotta all work hand in hand together.
Oh,
So
for
yeah, that's what
sure.
I would leave people with is face your fears. Face your fears. They're not really as scary as you think they are once you look at them. And don't put off the journey because you're just going to be in a maze. Just think of yourself in a corn maze and you're just going to keep hitting the wall and you're not going to you can't climb over it. You have to find the path. And if you really want to do that type of work, I mean, this is what I do, and I love working with clients. I love it because I've been through it, so I can say it works. This isn't something I learned in a book. I walk the
Yes,
path. I walk the path every day. It's always a growing, every day is growing.
the experiential side, which is way more
Yeah.
powerful than the written, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. That was amazing. We definitely have to do part two in the near future because you have so much to
Absolutely. I'd
share.
love to. Yeah,
Awesome. Well,
definitely.
where could people find you?
So if anyone's interested, divinitylifecoach.com is my website. I also have Divinity Life Coaching RN is on Instagram. I do TikTok. I don't put as much on TikTok. I'm really not into the whole like, I just put out my stuff and who's meant to find me will, but I have a whole website. I specialize in working with people with their relationships, but I put it out that way. But the truth is, it's, we're going down into your trauma. You know, we're dealing with why you keep, a lot of people want to know why they keep recycling relationships and stuff, but that's the front door in, and then we get down to the root. Like we
I
really
see.
work with your trauma, we work with your childhood trauma, your maybe relationship trauma, we work with your shadows, your karmic corrections if you're spiritual, and then those relationships ultimately we work through, because then you'll stop attracting and understanding your attachment style. But to understand your attachment style, you have to get down to why you have the attachment style, and it usually comes from a childhood issue, from feeling of abandonment or rejection or something that happened that made you start trauma bonding in that way.
I
So
see.
yeah, so I mean, I specialize in that area, but it's really dealing with your traumas and your, because that's really where everything stems from.
Oh yeah, and everybody needs that. So I'm gonna make sure that I tag everything you said below
Hmm.
when this podcast releases, so people can just click the link, check out your website, or contact you.
Yeah,
Uh,
great.
this was amazing. Thank you so much. Seriously.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Joelle.
anytime. We'll do it again. Sounds great.
Absolutely.